What I'd like to do next is, and that really the title of this session, is to have each of us kind of share some lessons that we've learned because the coalition has been together now for 3 years or so. What are some of the lessons that we've learned on working on some of these smarter buildings projects that we can share with you as we move forward? Okay, and I want to start with Emma. Emma has a souffle example that she thought would be great to kind of get us started. I'm not sure if souffle is a breakfast dish.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so I'll turn it over to you, and you can say a few words about your thoughts on this.
Well, given the day and the hour, I thought a food theme might be appropriate, since all of us would be otherwise indulging in brunch. And in giving this some thought, I realized that the act of creating sustainable buildings, especially in coalition with others like those in the Green Sigma Coalition, is surprisingly like making a souffle. And it's true for really 10 reasons. One is that many otherwise confident cooks are intimidated by the prospect. Most people think that making a souffle is intensely difficult. And it turns out that in surveys done by McGraw-Hill Construction, the majority of architecture and engineering firms who are not designing their buildings for their clients with sustainability in mind are claiming that they're doing so because they perceive it to be too complex. And they would rather just stick with the tools that they know and the practices and techniques that they know. So in other words, the intimidation factor is high, even if the complexity level is actually not. Secondly, just like a souffle, certain ingredients contribute multiple benefits. Think of eggs, for example. They provide you with protein, flavor, and they're really kind of the adhesive glue that holds that souffle together. Well, similarly, with a building, you need to combine ingredients in a certain way, and there are certain ingredients that provide multiple benefits. The Masdar headquarters comes to mind. They have actually introduced this concept of a building exoskeleton held up by 11 building scale cones. And these cones are so important, they built them first. They provide natural ventilation, they take advantage of the stack effect, they provide an interior courtyard for the user, but also they hold up the trellis that structurally supports the solar arrays that allowed the construction itself to be carbon neutral and that provided shading to the construction workers in such a hot climate, just like eggs. Third, tried and true techniques can be as effective as the fanciest new equipment. My husband just bought me a fancy new electric mixer, which was quite expensive and immediately broke. And it turned out that my right arm was just as good. Similarly, the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission actually just this week opened its brand new headquarter building. And what I learned from touring that beautiful building is that they borrowed from natural systems, which have been tried and tested for millennia, in fact. They've used what's called a living machine to treat their gray and their black water at the rate of 5,000 gallons per day, using attractive plantings both internally and externally, and have sealed off any smells or any other concerns by using a slight enhancement on nature's design with water sealant under the ground. So they have repurposed something that we knew worked because we've seen it work elsewhere. Fourth, higher quality ingredients mean more taste, smaller bowls, and fewer calories. You can actually create a better souffle with fewer calories if you really invest in the best ingredients. Similarly, with buildings, if you think about natural ventilation or the most efficient HVAC system or high-performance lighting, you will actually improve the efficiency, reduce the load of that building so substantially that your paybacks will look a lot better than if you spent that time looking at photogenic solar arrays or wind turbines, as is so often the case with our friends in the media. They also don't require quite as many subsidies, creating economic drag for the economy. Fifth, the way ingredients are mixed is as important as the ingredients themselves. So the list of ingredients in a recipe is neither here nor there. It's not until you mix them that it becomes interesting. Similarly, the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy in recent research showed that if we all moved our thinking from one of individual component efficiency, like how efficient is this microphone, to one of systems thinking. If I connected 1,000 computers to a smart transportation system, how much more efficient could I make my city? We would actually see an improvement in energy consumption in this country of 22%. That's competitive with nuclear or with natural gas. So elevating the discourse to the systems level and away from the individual ingredient is really important. And I think blending technologies like those represented by the Green Sigma Coalition is an example of that. Next, determining the joint goal up front can surmount even the problem of multiple chefs in the kitchen. No one wants multiple chefs in the kitchen, right? It's a very unappetizing kind of prospect. However, what we found at Autodesk with our headquarter building for our AEC division in Waltham, Massachusetts, is that by tying apron strings with Kling Stubbins, architects, and Tachi engineers, and defining very carefully the schedule, the budget, and the sustainability metrics we were all aiming for, and then sharing contractually the risks and rewards associated with those goals, we actually delivered a LEED Platinum CI building faster and more cheaply than its neighboring buildings or a typical office building. And in fact, with no change orders. This was a process called integrated project delivery. Seventh, even once out of the oven, that souffle requires your attention to maintain quality. And buildings are just the same. They will deteriorate over time. NASA has planned for this with their sustainability base in Moffett Field. For those of you who have seen that building, you'll understand it has a very intelligent nervous system that integrates a number of different building management systems, the alarm, the maintenance, the building information model. They have Lawrence Berkeley National Labs comparing on a regular basis through simulation how that building should be performing versus how it is. They've got wireless mesh sensors from UC Berkeley and Symmetrics doing meter reads on a regular basis. They do not want that building to deflate like a souffle. Then the outcome is more affordable than most people think. It's really just a question of whether you're looking at cost or whether you're looking at value. What the Rocky Mountain Institute found in building their headquarter building in one of the most extreme climates on the planet, just outside of Aspen, Colorado, was that they could achieve 99% passive heating and cooling through proper insulation and other different innovations like solar tubes. And they did so with an upfront cost that was slightly elevated, $1.5 per square foot more so than the neighboring buildings. But that building saved them $19 a day in energy relative to its peers. Then, wrapping up, one's audience need not get too involved. Would you want people peering over your shoulder at a dinner party questioning your every culinary decision? No. Similarly, it turns out that occupants in a building, not that important. We all might want to feel good and create green teams for employee engagement purposes, but actually Bill Holmes, an advisor to me and a longtime energy manager of buildings, has found that in 30 years of experience, he spends about a third of his time undoing what green teams and other energy enthusiasts have done in their buildings in order to eliminate the drag on that building's performance. And then lastly, this can become a standard favorite, not just a unique dish reserved for special occasions. It need not be Christmas. It can be a casual family dinner on a Wednesday evening. If Pike Research is correct, their projections show that green building certified space will grow at 24% compound annual growth rate for the next 8 years, reaching, I believe, 63 billion square feet by 2020. That's a bet I would want to make. So in other words, these things can become standard, not simply a special occasion. So I hope that this can be a recipe for things